Should I be saying that? It's a good game. Just play that. No, Bjorn is telling me I shouldn't be saying that. Okay.
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're taking a look at 8 instances where game developers told players to quit playing their games. Or maybe just take a break. You know, the healthy option.
The goal is to make it so that the people who want to play Val are able to love playing Val.
Before we begin, we publish new videos all week long, so be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Valorant. Riot Games has long been infamous for having an incredibly toxic player base, specifically with their flagship MOBA, League of Legends. So when their first new IP in ages, Valorant, debuted in 2020, perhaps there was some hope in wrangling in a more respectable community? Not when you mix in fans of hero shooters like Overwatch, tactical shooters like Counter-Strike, and those who will play anything Riot makes. Ever since launch, Riot has been trying to clean up their reputation by enforcing stricter rules in their communities. One such move was made in May 2024 by studio head for Valorant, Anna Donlin. In a video posted to YouTube, Donlin explained that the team would be enforcing stricter policies to promote better behavior within Valorant. When touching upon player safety and misconduct, Donlin said the following.
If you need to make truly evil statements under the guise of regular shit talk to enjoy gaming, then please play something else. We won't miss you.
Donlin would go on to elaborate on how Riot would move forward in cleaning up the community, but as anyone would have expected, some parties got upset by her denouncements and cried, "I'm being censored!" X-Defiant. Despite much of the skepticism surrounding the game, especially for such a ridiculous title, X-Defiant came and went, only having amassed a small following. While some did find enjoyment in the overall gameplay, others were bothered by the generic look and feel of everything as well as the questionable choices in level design. But one aspect many agreed upon was the technical instability. This led some folks to believe the game was rushed out the door. Executive producer Mark Rubin touched upon this on social media. Rubin not only denied the accusations of Ubisoft rushing the game out, he would also end his statement with, quote, "If you like what we are trying to do, stick around and you'll see things improve and new features get added. But if the game isn't for you, that's okay, you can move on," end quote. Of course, some players stayed on the "it was rushed" bandwagon, while others suggested switching engines, which many don't understand is a massive undertaking for any studio to do.
Mission accomplished.
Rust. One issue in gaming we rarely ever talk about as a community is when playing a game too much can drastically affect how a player perceives various aspects of the game in question. It may result in critical bias, nitpicking, and a ton of other problems that can skew feedback negatively for both the developers and the players. Rust developer Face Punch Studios experienced that firsthand in 2016, after players began complaining about the game supposedly getting boring. Face Punch founder Gary Newman took to Reddit to address these complaints, and he came swinging. Newman called out how some players who have made these complaints are the same ones clocking in well over 1,000 hours of playing Rust. In Newman's words, quote, "If you're bored of the game, then just stop playing. But before you get angry about it, consider whether we have given you enough entertainment over the last 3 years to justify pocketing your $20, end quote. And yes, considering how long games like Rust have been updating with new features and expansions over the past several years, this should be a question to ask ourselves every so often with each game. Dead by Daylight. Another good way of maintaining your enjoyment of a game is to simply take a break from it. It can be hard, yes, but doing other things or playing other games can help you appreciate the games you love even more and find other games that you might love. That's sort of what Dead by Daylight's director Matthew Cote pointed out during an AMA livestream in December 2021. One user asked Cote if there were plans to improve the game for killer players because, quote, "killers aren't feared anymore," end quote, referencing the uptick in bully squads and meta builds used by survivors. Kote not only suggested the user try out Survivor to change things up a bit, but also for the user to...
Or play something else for a week. Try Civilization or something.
Unsurprisingly, some players took this as a flippant remark, an insult with an attitude of go play something else, we don't care what you think, we don't want you playing our game anyways. In reality, Kote was likely just trying to offer some general advice while touching upon how too much of one thing is never good for you.
I would say maybe try Survivor for a bit.
Diablo 4. Whereas most games see people complain about balance and updates not changing things up, some games see complaints of not giving players enough to do. A massive RPG loaded with roughly 100+ hours of game to play through saw a handful of players complaining about having nothing to do in the game and claiming content was being drip-fed. General Manager of Diablo Rod Ferguson addressed these complaints during a livestream that showcased the Season of the Malignant, the first season of the game. Ferguson remarked about how new seasons indicate new starting points for players, and that it might be a good time to take a break if you've reached all of your goals and done everything you want to do. Unfortunately, this sound advice would fall on deaf ears in some corners of the community, and Diablo 4 would not be the last time this sort of thing happened. Palworld. Since it captured the hearts of many former Pokemon fans in early 2024, Palworld has also seen a bit of a decline in player count. Thing is, that is to be expected after an initial launch. People play until they've had their fill, and then they move on with their lives. But a vocal minority has tried to paint this picture as if Palworld gets insanely boring after you've beaten everything, and that the lack of meaningful updates is why the game is dying. Well, one of the game's developers, Bucky, posted on social media to address this discourse. Bucky dismissed the claims, labeling them, quote, lazy, while stating the players are more than welcome to stop playing the game after they have done everything. In Bucky's words, quote, ellipses, it is fine to take breaks from games, ellipses. There are so many amazing games out there to play. You don't need to feel guilty about hopping from game to game, ellipses. Play lots of games, try different genres, and frequently flick through indie libraries to find hidden gems. End quote. Well, what a novel idea, Bucky. Helldivers 2.
Throwing grenade.
Sometimes it feels like the Helldivers 2 community wants to be on fire, as there seems to be a problem every single week. One update in April 2024 threw players into a frenzy as it caused Helldivers 2 to crash much more frequently. To no one's surprise, people took to social media to raise concern, question the game's longevity, and how the game was dying! A developer from Arrowhead addressed these concerns on social media while offering some sage advice. Quote, a hot fix for the crashes is coming, but not over the weekend. Hang in there, or perhaps let the game rest for a while, end quote. As we've learned from every other entry we've seen so far, some gamers just don't like being told to go do something else.
Fire in the hole.
Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn.
In response to this threat, the satrap of Radzat-Han, the individual who governs the city-state, has instructed the alchemists to find a means to deal with the spire.
For a game that has been going on as long as Final Fantasy XIV has, it's almost impossible to think that someone out there could possibly have done everything there is to do in the game. One would be very, very surprised. Following the upsetting news of the delay on the Endwalker expansion, director and producer Naoki Yoshida, aka Yoshi P, did a Q&A livestream at Gamescom 2021. One player wrote in expressing troubles in staying motivated to keep playing Final Fantasy XIV, to which Yoshi P replied, quote, it's alright not to play every day. Since it's just a game, you can stop forcing yourself if it's hard on you to keep that up. Ellipses, there are so many games out there, so do come back to play to your heart's content when the major patch kicks in, then stop it to play other games before you get burnt out, end quote. While the player was thankful for the advice, others took to the internet to make this a gotcha moment. as if Yoshida was actively harming Square Enix and the Final Fantasy brand for suggesting this. A similar kerfuffle occurred in 2023 when Final Fantasy XIV saw some changes in how its raids worked. To clarify why the changes were made, Yoshida stated, quote, "Since I want everyone to tackle a lot of content and play other games too, I just didn't want this to feel like it will take forever." End quote.
But while I appreciate that desperate times call for desperate measures, I find your choice of company concerning.
Were these developers really that crazy for suggesting we play other games or even take a small break? Or is it really not as bad of an idea as some make it out to be? Personally, I do take a few months off from Dead by Daylight every now and again. So, that said, let us know down in the comments what you think, and be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays for more great videos every day.